Hello everyone, I am Nalini from Falcon Publishing, and today we have with us Lieutenant General Vipan Gupta, author of the book The Power to Influence the New Age. Vipin Gupta served the Indian Army for over 37 years. Now he is an author, podcaster, and has just taken over the MD of the Propflix.com, a nationwide online marketplace. He has authored three books. I will mention their all three books links in the description box so that audience will check out. So, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm fine, sir. So, it is nice to have with
Okay,
you. So, can you tell us a little bit
thank
about
you.
your book?
Yeah, first of all, let me take this opportunity to thank you for letting me speak about my book, The Power to Influence the New Age. Now, as the title of the book suggests, it has three distinct elements. The first refers to an amazing power, the power of influence. Now, the power of spiritual quotient, it's the mother of all intelligence. It is also called as spiritual wisdom or spiritual intelligence and is innate and inbuilt into the core of every human, but may be lying in a passive or partially active state. And in a fully active or alive state, it takes human potential to its pinnacle. That is what is required to be done. The second element refers to influence, which is at play in every human interaction and action. It has the ability to sway the hearts and mind, actions and thought. The contemporary and the future leaders, they require the support of influence to make sure that they take their leadership to a different level. Because I feel that the true test of a leader depends in his ability to influence without the crutch of authority and control, right? And hence, the future leaders need it more than anybody else. The third element refers to the new age, the age in which we are all living. It also refers to the new age generation of millennials and Gen Zs. Now, they account for more than 50% of humanity, and as the backbone of global workforce, they are the key drivers of innovation, economic growth, and societal trends. Yet their full potentials are often hindered because of the rising anxieties and mental health challenges, which are caused by a number of factors. To count a few, they have digital overload, they have manipulation at work, they have unyielding job demands, they have tight schedules, and they juggle with multiple projects at the same time. There's a fierce competition and job insecurity, which is always lurking. Now, all this make them susceptible to the anxiety and the stress. In fact, if you really see, all of us also get affected by these factors or these realities because we also live in the same age. And hence, something has to be done to alleviate stress from the new age. Because, as per the latest survey, more than one third of humanity is suffering from one or the other kind of stress. And the number is rising with every passing day. So, we need to devise strategies to alleviate the stress so that we can take the human potential to its maximum, to its pinnacle, like I said earlier. Now, my book aspires to do this by synchronizing the three elements of power, influence, and the new age into a winning strategy. Now, it does so by activating, elevating, and engaging the power of spiritual quotient and cultivating it as a habit. Now, once that is achieved, we are able to influence our life by attracting success, wellness, affluence, and frequent strokes of luck. Very important. Now, instead of chasing, we begin to attract the goodness of life. Now, that is the central theme of my book, which is available on Amazon. It's a short book of 150 pages. I hope you all find my book riveting and enjoy reading it as much as I've enjoyed writing it.
Okay. So, how would you define the sensitive age mentioned in your book?
Yeah, like I told you, the sensitive new age that I'm referring to is basically the new age generation of millennials and Gen Zs. Now, like I mentioned, that it's very true that they are best aligned to the vibrations and the frequency of the emerging world or the new world. But it is also true that they often have issues and problems that I mentioned, and the world is changing at a very rapid pace, and it brings along with it a lot of uncertainty at every doorstep. And hence, this generation gets affected. Their potential gets totally curbed and hindered. Now, I'll give you a few examples. There is a constant connectivity and information workload. And this generation gets continuously exposed to the global issues, to the societal pressures, and personal comparison. They start comparing themselves personally with others. Once you start comparing yourself with others, it leaves you nowhere because you sacrifice, you give away your uniqueness. All of us are very unique. All of us are very individual. We have come with the original blueprint. So we sacrifice, we give away our individuality, we give away our uniqueness. And hence, it keeps you confused and frustrated because you can't compare yourself with 10 others. Everybody is good at something or the other, and you can't be good at everything. So this is one. Secondly, they have very high aspirations. They want to achieve quick results and in rapid time, fast time. That doesn't happen because that requires a lot of patience. The gig economy also is causing job uncertainty. And hence they end up giving more priority to financial security than personal growth. And hence they begin to live on the edge. Then there is a pressure of always to be available through work emails, for messaging, and for calls. And it often leads to early burnout, right? And they also, I feel that they are also more aware than what we were. This generation, new age generation, is much more aware. So they are very, very reactive to issues like inequality, discrimination, social justice, environmental degradation, climate change. These are very, very big things. I mean, people earlier never used to think about it, but this generation is very, very concerned about it. And they're also very concerned about their mental health and emotional well-being. And any environment which ignores these two, emotional well-being and mental health, they become very defiant. They become very aggressive. So I feel that this is a bucket of concerns that make the new age generation very, very sensitive.
Okay. So, why do you consider spiritual quotient the mother of all the intelligence?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I have mentioned and number of times that spiritual quotient, I feel, is the mother and father of all intelligence because it lays the basic foundation on which every other intelligence, whether it is IQ, EQ, HQ, HQ incidentally is the happiness quotient. They all survive and thrive on this, the spiritual quotient. And it goes beyond problem solving and relationship management by aligning us, our body, mind, and soul, with the universal frequencies, and so that we get a holistic perspective about life. It also regulates the IQ and the EQ. Now, a guy, he may be very intelligent, but he can misuse his intelligence, right? Unless he's got some ethical grounding, he's got some ethical base. Similarly, a person can be very, very high on empathy. He can be empathetic, but he can be emotionally drained because of empathy, unless he's got spiritual resilience. Hence, it keeps the semblance of body and mind in every condition. It nurtures its intelligence basically from 5 elements. I call them 5 pillars of spiritual quotient. Now, these are awareness, spontaneity, holism, humility, and happiness. Now, we all know about these five, but how many of us practice? That is the question. Now, I'll just very briefly tell you about all these five so they become very clear. Although the book has a separate chapter for each of these five. In fact, that is the mainstay of the book. Now, awareness. If I ask you to explain to me what is awareness, you'll be able to explain it very fast without any problem. But do you practice awareness in a day? How long do you remain aware? That is the crux. So our perception rides on awareness. If we have high perception or high awareness, then we can perceive things in advance. We can adjust our strategies to meet various situations that are going to emerge in the future. So awareness is a vehicle on which perception rides. Then it also keeps you abreast with your strengths and weaknesses. You can work upon them. You can exploit your strengths and you can improve upon your weaknesses. Then it leads to the second. They're all interconnected. So awareness leads to spontaneity. Now, if I ask you, Nalini, if I give you 10 choices and pick up one, now how fast you will pick up one choice depends on how spontaneous you are. See, that is what spontaneity. It's an art of living moment to moment. It also improves your innovative skills, intuitive vibes. So spontaneity also takes care of paradox of choice. You must have heard this word paradox of choice very, 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 very often these days, because there's so much of choice available. You want to pick up a dress for a party, you don't know which one to wear. You may get 10 dresses lined up for you, and you find it very difficult to select one. I'm teaching this because the ladies, my wife and daughter, often struggle to find a dress when they have to go for a party. You want to buy a car, plenty of choices. So the paradox of choice creates a mental chaos, right? So spontaneity takes care of that. It keeps the semblance alive. It keeps the serenity of mind alive, right? It keeps you anchored in the present moment. Then comes the holism. Holism, the interconnected whole. You must have heard the whole is bigger than sum of its parts. And it becomes so when you connect with every member of the team. A leader who connects every member of a team, whether he's a captain, whether it's a corporate leader or a military leader, it leads to landslide victory, unprecedented success. Because if one guy is opposing, the whole will never become bigger than the sum of parts. So this is the crux. And holism also ensures that where spontaneity ends, holism takes over. Spontaneity will make you decide, quick decision making, and holism will work on that decision to make it right by detailed planning and execution, right? So it's very, very important, right? And then we come to the fourth element, which is humility, which I feel humility is the expression of power, not a weakness. A person who is humble will create trust, he'll create harmony wherever he is. And with humility, he will also take care of any counter force. Nothing will oppose. Everybody will be moving in the same direction and following and leading to the fulfillment of the goal or the vision of the leader. So, and once these four elements are active in you, are thriving in you, that I've just mentioned, the fifth element is a natural consequence, happiness. They'll keep you happy. You will remain joyful and anchored in happiness. And happiness is very important. It is also the hidden purpose of a life. Why I say so? Because we have happiness juices flowing in our body. They get activated. There is a strategy, there is a technique to keep happiness long lasting. I've explained it in my book. I feel that everyone, your generation, the younger generation, I'm not saying that you are stressed. People who are stressed should read this. This is a chapter specially meant for them. Now, all these five elements, when they start thriving in you and become active, and you engage them, like I mentioned to you, you imagine the kind of human potential will go up so high, and it will become a root of, well, that is why it will become a root of holistic intelligence. That is how it becomes, I again repeat, holistic intelligence. You look at any top performer, suddenly today you look up any top performer in any field, sports, military, leadership, you name a thing, teachers, you will find that if there is one thing in common, in all of them, and that is their act and live by their spiritual quotient. Today, I can dare say that it is the most powerful, most profound, and most intelligent thing which is existing in a human body. So we all must activate it and make this. That is why I call it the mother and father of all known intelligence.
Okay. So, how do you see leadership evolving in today's world?
You see, the existing world or the emerging world or the future world is going to be technology driven the way it is now, and will move at a frantic pace or a wild pace. And it will bring along with it many challenges. Like I've already mentioned, the workplace will be devoid of empathy and harmony. It'll create definitely a toxic work environment. And so management of human resource will require new dimensions. The future breed of leaders will have to manage their teams in such a toxic environment or culture. And hence they have to go beyond the authority, they have to go beyond the scope of authority and control, and they would require the finesse of influence to become leader influencer. Only then they will be able to motivate and inspire, because bare authority will not do. People will not listen to you blindly. You have to have a personal charisma, you have to connect with people. Only then you will become more resonant and appealing. And leadership will also demand patience, which will go much beyond ordinary human limit. You know why? Because nothing is going to be same. Everything will change. So you will require frequent course correction. And that will happen only in case you have patience. You will also require high awareness to plan your strategy in advance so that you can take care of the emerging situations. You would need high awareness, like I said, and intuitive wisdom to solve the complex issues. Intuitive wisdom makes you solve the complex issues because it connects you with something which I'll explain a little later, a pool of human consciousness. Humility, empathy, all this will have to be activated in these leaders, because unless a leadership is able to endure and navigate these challenges, it will lose its charm and impact. So leadership, if it has to be impactful, it has to have all these qualities that I've just mentioned. And I feel that the spiritual quotient-backed leadership is going to be the mainstay of today and tomorrow and in future. Because they will create empathetic, people-friendly or people-focused and an egalitarian style of leadership, egalitarian style of working. Now, one example which comes to my mind at this stage is that of Satya Nadella. You must have heard Satya Nadella, the famous CEO of Microsoft. Now, he was brought in at a time, mainly, when nothing was working for Microsoft. It was getting a hit on all fronts. There was a mass scale attrition, the profits were coming down, and the huge corporate ship was sinking. And that is the time when Satya Nadella, a guy with very high spiritual quotient, in his a book called Hit Refresh, if you read, you will realize that this guy is full of spiritual quotient. The 5 elements that I mentioned, every element is thriving in him. And he did a miracle. He brought the Microsoft back to its original glory. And today you look at what it is. Otherwise, there was a time when Google, Apple, and Amazon, they were taking away everything from Microsoft. And today Microsoft is here to stay. That is what the spiritual quotient-backed leadership does. In future, it's going to be the mainstay of leadership, I feel.
Okay. So, what role do empathy and harmony play in the new age leadership you described?
Yeah, empathy and harmony I have mentioned many times. This word has come many times in my last 10-15 minutes that we've spent with each other.
Yes.
And these words are very, very profound. They have very profound emotions. Because a person or a leader who displays empathy and he creates harmony around himself in his work environment or culture, makes a lasting impression. Because jointly they create an egoless space. And what he does by empathy, what does empathy does? Empathy and harmony creates he gives a caring ear, an open heart, and a human touch to people around him and his team. And it takes care of the dissent, discord, disharmony, and creates trust, faith, and harmony. So it's very, very important. Every team member gets on board. They all start flowing in the same direction as the leader. And hence the vision and the goal of the leader or the organization he works for is materialized, is manifested by the combined effort of the team members. The concept of holism comes alive, where I mentioned that whole becomes bigger than part. It leads to landslide victories, leads to unprecedented success. That is what these two words, these two emotions, these two virtues, very, very important, empathy and harmony does. And every leader today or in future should have this in his kitty to make an impact.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
what was the most challenging part of writing this book?
Challenging part of writing this book. Yeah. I feel the most challenging part was that I wanted to make sure that book, every chapter remains very simple. Because I feel every complexity of life opens in simplicity. So I wanted every line, every paragraph, every chapter to be very simple, yet pleasing, and the content of the book should be such that the reader should be able to read it max in a day or two, because no one has time in today's world. And I also wanted that every chapter should be self-contained. When you read a chapter, you should not feel, yeah, I am disconnected, I have to go back or I have to go front. Every chapter should become self-contained or self-explanatory. That I think was the most challenging part, and I had to spend a lot of time in ensuring that every line should lead to the central theme of the book. That is what I thought was challenging.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what impact do you hope this book will have on readers' personal and professional lives?
Like I mentioned, in today's world, the personal and professional lives, the quality of personal and professional life is interconnected or interdependent. Why? Because they influence each other. The boundaries between the two are diluting with every passing day. And actually, the personal and the professional life, they are merging into each other. And hence, I view both as important aspects of life, personal life and professional life, holistically, because I feel that a successful professional life is synonymous with a fulfilling personal life. The two they go hand in hand. And accordingly, my book does that. It delves into various strategies to ensure that the readers, the spiritual quotient that I've mentioned, the mother of all intelligence, it gets activated and they're able to engage it. And it has also been proved by science today. A lot of research is going on in this subject, and it has been proved that the degree of spiritual quotient, since it is a biological basis, its degree can be altered, it can be enhanced. And my book does that. And once it is done, the spiritual quotient gets reflected in their actions, in their thoughts, and accordingly, it make them winners for life. It will also very importantly connect them, like I mentioned earlier, to a network of collective human consciousness. It's a pool which the wisdom of entire humanity is collected and retained. Nothing is ever wasted. And you connect to this pool through our intuitive sense or our subconscious mind. I call this pool as a genius because it has answers to every conceivable human questions. You may have any, you get gut feeling, you get flashes of innovative thoughts and ideas. So this comes from this pool. And such empowered leaders, once they get connected, they will not only read words, they will also read moods, they will also read body language, they will also read energy vibes, and they will not say anything, but they will observe in silence to keep their senses supreme. And once their senses are supreme, well, they can connect to the universal flow of intelligence and can really become, uh, lead a very thriving and blossoming life and become winner for life. That's what the book will have an impact on readers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, how did your personal experience shape the insights share in the power of influence the new age?
Yeah, you see, I've spoken four things in this book. I've talked about spiritual quotient, right? I've spoken about leadership. I've spoken about influence and the new age. I have lived, Nalini, I have lived my entire life practicing and heuristically learning these four aspects. I'll tell you how. Now, I was introduced to the concept of spirituality at a very young age of 12 when I was initiated into meditation. I read a very large number of books written by the New Age masters, which gave me clarity about the concept of spirituality and spiritual quotient. I interacted with many of them. That way, I was privileged to keep that alive in me. And leadership and influencing. Well, this was my, bread and butter. I have served for 40 years in the Indian Army at different ranks, starting from lieutenant to a lieutenant general. And this is one thing that I practice. I've grown up practicing leadership and influence. And as far as the fourth aspect is concerned, the new age. Well, the last 4 years of my service in the Indian Army, when I was heading a training establishment, one of the biggest in the South India, I would interact with the new age generation of millennials and Gen Zs between 25 to about 45 years, almost on a daily basis. And I would definitely get to know about their strengths and weaknesses, how do they operate. It gave me, insight into their psyche as to how do they. So all four aspects were there with me for a very, very long time. I said more than my entire life, and especially the last 40 years of my service. And because of that, I feel that the book is very, very authentic, because there's nothing written in this book which has not been tested in the laboratory of my life. In fact, I would say the book is my clone. And that is why I have included a large number of anecdotes in the book. You will find there are plenty of anecdotes in every chapter, very relatable and drawing very good lessons for the readers from both civil and military. And I think that is the mainstay. So I feel that all this has made a difference to the quality of the book that I've written.
Okay. If readers take away one key message from your book, what would it want to be?
Well, readers can take many messages actually. It's very difficult to identify one single message. But if you're insisting that I must tell you one message, then what comes to my mind at this stage is that I would request the leaders to learn to activate the power of spiritual quotient, the mother of all intelligence, and engage it so that it becomes part of their character. And once they do that, they will be winners for life. That is what I would request all the leaders to do.
Okay, so that's it for today. And so thank you so much for joining this amazing session. And I hope our audience will read your book.
Yeah, I hope so. Like I said, that I have specially ensured that the book is not very lengthy. It is just 150 pages. You can finish it. There are many readers who finished it within a matter of one day, max 2 days. And I hope you all find my book riveting
I
and
will
enjoy
mention
reading
all
it.
the I will mention
Yeah.
all the links in the description box so that audience will check out.